Write an engaging and emotional story based on the title. A single dad gave his breakfast to a poor woman. Weeks later her lawyers changed his life. Begin the story with hook who joins the viewers at the end. Immediately capture attention. Also motive viewers to like video and subscribe the channel. Develop the plot with emotional depth and relatable characters, including key challenges and their resolutions. Ensure the story maintains a smooth pace suitable for an 400-minute YouTube video, leaving a strong, inspiring message by the end. Plain paragraphs but long story as you can based on 3,000-word estimate. In the bustling heart of a rainy morning in downtown Chicago, where the scent of fresh coffee mingled with the exhaust of passing buses, a single dad named Jack stood in line at his favorite corner diner. Clutching a crumpled $5 bill, his last for the day. He was about to order his usual black coffee and bagel, the only meal he'd allow himself before a grueling shift at the warehouse. But then he saw her, a frail woman huddled under a tattered umbrella, her eyes hollow with hunger, rummaging through a trash bin for scraps. In that split second, Jack's heart twisted. He handed her his breakfast instead, whispering, "Here, ma'am. You need this more than I do." Little did he know, that simple act of kindness would unravel his world and rebuild it in ways he could never imagine. If this story touches your heart like it's about to touch mine while telling it, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel for more real-life tales that prove miracles still happen. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support keeps these stories coming. Jack Thompson was a man who had seen better days. At 38, he carried the weight of the world on his broad but weary shoulders. 5 years ago, his wife, Emily, had been taken from him in a senseless car accident, leaving him to raise their 7-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. Emily had been the light of their lives, vibrant, funny, and the glue that held everything together. Her death shattered Jack into pieces he was still trying to glue back. He worked double shifts at a distribution center, loading trucks until his back screamed in protest, just to keep a roof over their heads in their tiny one-bedroom apartment on the city's outskirts. Mornings were rushed, getting Lily ready for school, packing her a peanut butter sandwich for lunch because that's all they could afford, and skipping his own meals to stretch the budget. "Daddy, why don't you eat breakfast?" Lily would ask with her big blue eyes, so much like her mother's. Jack would ruffle her hair and say, "I'm saving room for dinner with my favorite girl." But the truth gnawed at him. Dinner was often ramen or canned soup, and he went to bed hungry more nights than not. That fateful morning, the rain poured like tears from the sky, mirroring Jack's inner turmoil. He'd woken up to a leaking ceiling in their apartment, the landlord promising fixes that never came. Lily had a school field trip coming up, one that cost $20 he didn't have. As he stood in line at the diner, his mind raced with worries. How would he explain to her that she couldn't go? How could he keep pretending everything was okay? The woman ahead of him in line, no, not in line, but lingering nearby, caught his eye. She was in her late 60s, maybe, with silver hair matted from the rain and clothes that hung loosely on her thin frame. She wasn't begging, but her desperation was palpable. When the cashier handed Jack his bagel and coffee, he paused. The aroma of toasted bread made his stomach growl, but he couldn't ignore her. "Excuse me," he said softly, extending the bag. "Please, take this. It's fresh." She looked up, startled, her eyes widening. "For me? Why?" Jack shrugged. "Because everyone deserves a warm start to the day." She accepted it with trembling hands, murmuring a thank you before disappearing into the downpour. Jack walked to work on an empty stomach, but for the first time in weeks, he felt a spark of warmth in his chest. Weeks passed in a blur of exhaustion. Jack's life didn't change much. The field trip came and went, Lily stayed home, pretending she was sick to spare her dad's guilt. He picked up extra hours, but the bills piled up. Rent was late, the electricity flickered with warnings of shut-off. Lily's birthday loomed, and Jack scavenged thrift stores for a gift, settling on a second-hand doll that he hoped she'd love. One evening, as he tucked her into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, I miss Mommy. And I wish we had more food." Her words pierced him like knives. He held her close, fighting back tears. "I know, sweetheart. I'm trying. I promise things will get better." But deep down, he doubted it. How could they? He was one man against a world that seemed determined to grind him down. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, everything shifted. Jack was at work, heaving boxes onto a conveyor belt, when his phone buzzed, an unknown number. He ignored it at first, but it rang again during his break. "Hello?" he answered, wiping sweat from his brow. A polished voice on the other end introduced himself as Mr. Harlan, a lawyer from a prestigious firm downtown. "Mr. Thompson, we need to meet urgently. It's regarding a matter that could significantly impact your life." Jack's heart raced. Was this about unpaid bills? A lawsuit? He agreed to meet the next day, his mind swirling with dread. The law office was a world away from Jack's reality, sleek glass walls, leather chairs, and a receptionist who offered him bottled water. Mr. Harlan, a sharp-dressed man in his 50s, shook his hand firmly. "Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming. This concerns Mrs. Eleanor Whitaker." Jack frowned. "Who?" Harlan smiled faintly. "The woman you gave your breakfast to a few weeks ago. She passed away last night." Jack's stomach dropped. "Passed away? I barely knew her. Why am I here?" Harlan leaned forward. Mrs. Whitaker was no ordinary woman. She was the widow of a tech mogul, worth millions. But in her later years, she chose to live simply, testing the kindness of strangers. You were one of the few who showed her genuine compassion without expecting anything in return. Jack sat stunned as Harlan explained. Eleanor had been diagnosed with terminal cancer months earlier. Disillusioned by her family's greed, they'd abandoned her after her husband's death. She decided to wander the streets incognito, seeking proof that humanity still had heart. Most people ignored her or shooed her away. But Jack's small gesture, a bagel and coffee, touched her deeply. In her will, revised just days after their encounter, she left him a substantial inheritance, $500,000, plus a trust fund for Lily's education. She wanted to reward true kindness, Harlan said, sliding papers across the desk. And ensure it changes lives. Tears welled in Jack's eyes. He thought of Emily, of Lily's innocent face, of the endless nights of worry. "This can't be real," he whispered. But it was. The money arrived within weeks, lifting the crushing weight from his shoulders. He paid off debts, fixed the apartment's leaks, and enrolled Lily in after-school programs she'd always dreamed of. For her birthday, he surprised her with a trip to the zoo, her first outing in years. As they watched the animals, Lily beamed. "Daddy, this is the best day ever." Jack hugged her, whispering, "It's just the beginning, kiddo. But the story doesn't end with the windfall." Jack's challenges weren't just financial, they were emotional scars that money couldn't fully heal. The inheritance brought its own trials. Word spread in his small community, and suddenly, distant relatives he'd never heard from came knocking, hands out for loans. Old friends resurfaced, expecting handouts. Jack felt isolated, questioning who he could trust. One night, after turning away a cousin who'd shown up unannounced, he sat alone in the kitchen, staring at a photo of Emily. "What would you do, Em?" he murmured. The answer came in a dream that night, Emily's voice, soft and reassuring, reminding him of the man he was, the one who gave without expecting. Inspired, Jack resolved to pay it forward. He started small, volunteering at a local shelter, the same one Eleanor might have visited. He donated anonymously to families in need, remembering his own struggles. Lily joined him, packing care packages for the homeless. "Like what you did for that lady, Daddy?" she asked. Jack nodded, his voice thick. Exactly like that. The act of giving healed him, mending the fractures in his soul. He even reached out to Eleanor's estranged family, offering olive branches, not money, but understanding. One niece, Sarah, responded. Over coffee, she shared stories of her aunt's life. A brilliant woman who'd built an empire with her husband, only to lose her way in grief. She saw something in you, Sarah said. Something real. As months turned into a year, Jack's life transformed beyond recognition. He quit the warehouse job, using part of the money to start a small catering business, specializing in hearty breakfasts, of course. Named Emily's Dawn, it honored his wife and the morning that changed everything. The business thrived, employing single parents like himself, giving them flexible hours and fair pay. Lily flourished too, excelling in school with tutors and art classes. She drew pictures of her dad as a superhero, cape made from a diner napkin. "You're my hero, Daddy," she'd say, and Jack would choke up, knowing he was finally living up to that. Yet, the deepest change was internal. Jack learned to open his heart again. At a community event, he met Anna, a teacher with kind eyes and a laugh that echoed Emily's. She wasn't a replacement, she was a new chapter. They took it slow, building a friendship over shared stories of loss. Anna had lost her brother young. Lily adored her, and soon, their home filled with laughter once more. On their first family outing, a picnic in the park, Jack felt whole. "I never thought I'd feel this again," he told Anna. She squeezed his hand. Kindness has a way of coming back around. Reflecting on that rainy morning, Jack often wondered about fate. What if he'd kept his breakfast? What if Eleanor had chosen another street? But he knew, acts of compassion ripple outward, touching lives in unseen ways. He shared his story at shelters and schools, inspiring others. "You don't need much to make a difference," he'd say. "Sometimes, it's just a bagel." Years later, as Lily graduated college, debt-free, thanks to the trust, Jack stood proud, tears streaming. In her speech, she mentioned her dad. "He taught me that even in our darkest times, a single act of kindness can light the way." The audience applauded, but Jack's heart swelled with the true reward, seeing his daughter become the compassionate woman Emily would have been proud of. And so, dear viewers, this tale of Jack and Eleanor reminds us all, in a world full of hurry and hardship, pause for kindness. It might just change your life, or someone else's. If this story moved you, smash that like button, subscribe for more heartwarming narratives, and share it with a friend who needs a reminder that good still exists. What's your act of kindness story? Drop it in the comments below, we'd love to hear. Until next time, keep spreading light. The rain had stopped by the time Jack left the diner that day, but the storm in his life was just beginning to clear. Let's dive deeper into the moments that led up to that pivotal encounter. Jack's childhood wasn't easy either. Raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs, he learned early the value of sacrifice. When he met Emily in college, it was love at first sight. Her optimism balanced his quiet strength. They dreamed of a big family, a house with a yard. But after Lily's birth, Emily's health declined subtly, though they pushed through. The accident, a drunk driver on a foggy night, robbed them of those dreams. Jack spiraled into grief, barely functioning for months. Friends helped, but eventually, life demanded he stand up. For Lily. The poor woman, Eleanor, had her own backstory of tragedy and triumph. Born into poverty, she married young to escape it, but her husband, a visionary inventor, struck gold with a software patent. They built Whitaker Tech into a billion-dollar company. Fame brought fortune, but also isolation. After his death from a heart attack, Eleanor's children fought over the estate, leaving her alone in a mansion that felt like a tomb. Cancer's diagnosis was the final blow. "I want to die knowing there's goodness left," she told her lawyer in a recorded session Harlan later shared with Jack. Disguising herself as homeless was her test, a radical one, but born of deep loneliness. When their paths crossed, it was more than chance. Eleanor had been watching people for days, her frail body weakening. Jack's gesture wasn't grand, but it was pure. She ate the bagel slowly, savoring not just the food, but the humanity. Back in her hidden penthouse, she called Harlan. "I've found him," she said. The will was amended swiftly. Post-inheritance, Jack faced jealousy from co-workers who'd mocked his struggles. One, a burly guy named Mike, confronted him, "Must be nice, getting rich off pity." Jack responded calmly, "It wasn't pity, it was kindness. And I've got a job opening if you need it." Mike softened, eventually becoming an employee at Emily's Dawn. Resolutions came in waves. Jack sought therapy for his grief, learning to forgive the driver who'd caused Emily's death. He visited the grave often, sharing updates. "We made it, Em." Lily's challenges added layers. Bullied at school for her worn clothes pre-inheritance, she built resilience. Post-windfall, she navigated new friends who liked her for the cool stuff. Jack taught her discernment. True friends see your heart, not your wallet. She volunteered with him, developing empathy that shaped her into a social worker later in life. The lawyer's involvement extended beyond the will. Harlan became a mentor, helping Jack invest wisely. "Eleanor trusted you, now trust yourself," he advised. Jack grew the business, franchising it to other cities, each location supporting local charities. Emotional peaks hit during holidays. Their first Thanksgiving with money was bittersweet, abundant food, but Emily's absence loomed. They set a place for her, toasting to memories. Anna joined the next year, bringing her own traditions, blending families seamlessly. The inspiring message? Kindness isn't transactional, it's transformative. Jack's life, once a cycle of survival, became one of purpose. He wrote a book, The Bagel That Saved Me, donating proceeds to anti-poverty programs. Readers shared stories, a nurse who helped a stranger, only to receive aid later, a teacher who inspired a student to pay it forward. As the sun sets on this tale, imagine Jack now, in his 50s, with grandkids from Lily's family. He still starts days with breakfast at the diner, leaving extras for those in need. "You never know," he says. One act can change everything. Viewers, if Jack's journey resonates, like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Let's build a community of kindness together. Thanks for watching.